everybody, TinyLeaf here. After spending 6 months working on the Danganronpa V3 rewrite, getting depressed by all the technical issues, and then throwing my original draft and original rough cut into the garbage bin out of sheer stress, I remembered that I jotted down some ideas I had for an Ultra Despair Girls rewrite that I made back when I was having writer's block. And I thought that it would be healthy to take a break to share some of those ideas. Nothing is super refined, and honestly it's more of a super self-indulgent fanfic, but I don't care. Cringe is dead, and I killed it. So gather around, gamers, and let me tell you about what my Ultra Despair Girls pitch would have looked like. In this very special video, let's rewrite Danganronpa Another Ultra Despair Girls. Out of all the various issues I have with this game, the first thing I would change is, believe it or not, the combat system. I can tolerate a subpar story if I enjoy the gameplay, and you know that I dislike Ultra Despair Girls' a lot. The controls are janky, the puzzles are hit or miss, and I've come to the realization recently that I just don't like third-person games. But you know what I do like? Turn-based combat. Even when it's not very balanced or complicated, it scratches my brain because of how tactile it feels, especially in the cases where there's action commands to pull off. And in my always correct opinion, turn-based combat is a more natural progression from the gameplay of the visual novels than a third-person shooter. It allows the player for more time to think, select the option they think would be best, and I like seeing it as a puzzle where you figure out how to defeat a certain type of enemy or boss. The Danganronpa series has experimented with this type of gameplay before with mixed results, but I can see it working better in a game like Ultra Despair Girls, where the main reason people like the game is because of the surrounding story and less because it's actually fun to play. Although I'm certain there are some gamers out there who think it's fun. And I guess the 3D models can stay if that would just make everybody's life easier. In an ideal world though, they would be much more polished. And 2D. This jump to turn-based combat would also include the addition of another girl to fight alongside Toko and Komaru. I know some RPGs work well with only having 2 party members, but this is my wish fulfillment, and I make the rules. Besides, most of my brainstorming worked underneath the pretense of the player controlling a trio. So that's what we're going with. To the surprise of absolutely no one that knows me, I'm adding best girl Aoi Asahina. Between her and Kyoko, Aoi never gets a chance to shine outside the first game, and I think she'd be a fun addition to the cast. I'll get more into how her personality has developed since the ending of Trigger Happy Havoc in a few minutes, but know that she will be a little different while still being recognizable as the same girl we've known before, just with a few more moments where you can see the lingering sadness creeping in. Now let's talk about designs, because I want to spruce them up a little bit and add my own little twist. Starting with Komaru, her design is simple and it works well with her typical high school girl shtick. And her choice to wear her school uniform even though she doesn't have to is cute. But I'm not a fan of how a lot of the DR girls, especially in the later games, tend to just have some variant of a school uniform. It bores me. So I wanted to give Komaru a couple of accessories alongside her uniform. One of them is the mismatched socks scrunched up around her ankles. This is very much me projecting onto her, because when I was in high school, I wouldn't wear plain socks, but I was also too lazy to actually match colored ones, so I stuck that little trait onto Komaru and gave her a couple colorful socks that might have been fun to wear around the house. The second accessory that I'll add later on during the line art is some cute bandages around her knees and arms. Poor girl is so bored at home that her first instinct when she found a box of colorful bandages was to start sticking them on herself. For a little bit of flavor text, during the game she could start making up stories about how she got these scars. You don't want to know how she got these scars. Next up, let's talk Toko. I like that they changed up her design from the first game, but I'm not a fan of the changes they made. Her braids were adorable, I appreciated that she was flat-chested compared to the rest of the cast, and I know she's an intern, but why can't she dress like a Future Foundation member? I had to dress up when I was an intern, and it was fun! So here's what I came up with. Toko is trying to prove that she's ready to be an official member of the Future Foundation and work with her beloved master Byakuya. In an effort to do so, she's trying to dress in a way to fit the part. Instead of keeping her hair in 2 long braids like she did when she was a schoolgirl, she keeps it pulled back in 1 big braid so she can seem older but still fidget with it. Her glasses are a teeny bit smaller, they're still round, just not as big. And as one of the representatives of the Future Foundation, she's got a suit jacket and a tie to look the part. But I'm still keeping her long skirt because I've always really liked the silhouette it gave her. Toko still seems like someone who wants to cover up her skin, And Genocide Jack wants to keep it too. That way she can more easily grab her scissors strapped to the thighs. Oh yeah, Genocide Jack. I'm not gonna give her a full redesign since she looks very similar to Toko, but my idea is that whenever she's fronting, some wisps fly loose from her braid, a slit opens up in the skirt, and her buttoned-up suit jacket becomes undone to reveal a pop of color underneath. I think it would be cute. Last up, Aoi. Her design was a little bit more difficult to come up with since she was already a member of the Future Foundation by the time Ultra Despair Girls happens, and we do see her uniform in full during the anime, which I know some people like to pretend doesn't exist. I do want to keep some of her grown-up looks features, the high ponytail mainly, but I wanted to bring back some of the fun from her original design while also having it make sense. So in my version of UDG, Aoi is sent out on a field mission around the same time Byakuya went out to rescue Kamaru. When she goes sideways, she ends up roaming around by herself to find an escape from the city. She wound up shedding some of her more professional clothes to not get found out as a Future Foundation member and to have some better mobility. Her paperclip beret is coming back because it's cute, and Aoi's back in shorts because we so desperately need some more girls with pants in these games. I'm not salty. My in-universe reason is that her old pants kept getting caught on stuff, and so she cropped them and rolled them up. Her suit jacket is now tied around her waist, and her button-up shirt has her sleeves rolled up. But I'm adding a pop of red back into her design with that messenger bag full of goodies on her side. She's also taken an injury to the knee, but she's patched it up with her necktie. She's doing fine. Aoi's doing great. And I'm definitely stealing this idea from a piece of fan art that I can't find again. I'll put a link in the description or the comments if I find it. But I'm tattooing some sakura blossoms onto her forearm. Now that we've got our girlies, back to the gameplay. I'm not a game developer, so I don't know much about this thing called balancing, so I'm going to be talking about the vibes I have for each character. I'll primarily be basing their class off the tried and true trio of melee, range, and support. Kamaru would obviously slot into the role of range, since she's got the hacking gun, but she would also double as a sort of magic user. Her bullet count could be like her mana cost, where certain attacks take more bullets to successfully pull off, and she would find more bullets roaming around the world. I'd like there to also be the strategic standpoint of being able to switch between different kinds of bullets. My initial idea was that even though all the bullets you pick up are the same, you have to upgrade your hacking gun over time to modify the effects your bullets have. And if you ever want to switch from one bullet type to another during battle, you'd have to use up a turn to do so. Her basic attack would just be shooting out a regular bullet, which would just consume 1 BP, or bullet point. Heh. But the other attacks I have in mind for her are Double Shot, hits the same target twice, Bullet Time, hits every target once, but the damage is weaker since you're not as careful with your aim, Focus, take 1 turn to find a chosen enemy's weak spot and increase damage, and Switch Out, take 1 turn to change the bullet type you fire. There would obviously be more that you could find throughout the game, but those are the main ones I have right now. Aoi would fall into the role of melee. It warms my heart to think that after escaping Hope's Peak, she decided to learn martial arts to feel more connected to Sakura and to help get stronger for the sake of the squad. While she's not as strong as her lady love, she can still pack quite a punch. She might have gotten a hacking gun earlier, but maybe she lost it or got destroyed by a bunch of Monokumas. Who's to say? But even if Hina doesn't have a gun, she has a lead pipe that she found laying around. That's just a backup in case something tries to sneak up on her. Her basic attack would be something simple like a pipe smash, but the rest of her attacks would be based on martial arts moves. Instead of bullets, I thought it'd be cute if Aoi had energy to burn. Since she's still learning martial arts, I can't imagine running around smacking robots left and right is something she's used to. So in addition to having some basic martial arts moves, she'd have a move called Catch a Breath, where she could pass a turn or two to regain energy. Now, Toko? I want her to be the support character. The irony of the mean character being the support is hilarious to me, but I also think it could fit with her character. She herself isn't physically strong and has been promising to help keep Jack underneath control. But she still wants to prove herself to the Future Foundation and find ways to be useful. Hence, she learns how to treat wounds and support her team. She'd probably be one of the tankier members, the reason being that this CG exists, and I think her devotion to proving herself to Byakuya would keep her strong. It's a shaky reason, but screw it. So while she does have a basic attack, something like Throwing the book? I don't know. More of her moves are designed to help her teammates. For example, I think Toko should have a move like Spy from Bug Fables or Tattle from Paper Mario. I'd call it Snitch. She's been doing some research into the tragedy going down in Towa City, and can provide some insight into the enemy's different stats or weaknesses. Some other moves I have for her are Patch Up, which heals a party member. Hey, somebody's gotta clean up the wounds Jack leaves behind. Dirty Joke, where she tells a dirty joke that catches an enemy off guard, which would weaken their attack, because damn, this girl says some wild things. Aggravate, which directs all the attacks to Toko for a turn. And then the last one, and my favorite, is Electric Shock, where she shocks herself and switches out to Genocide Jack. We'll get back to her in just a second. I'm not sure what I would use for Toko's mana, as most of her moves wouldn't require much physical labor or ammo. Maybe she'd also have energy like Aoi? Not sure. Leave your suggestions down below. But moving on to Genocide Jack, we gotta include her. She's so cool. But she'd definitely be a high-risk, high-reward kind of deal. One of the issues the players of UDG have is that Jack is so strong without having any real drawback. Even the energy gauge she does have doesn't do shit as far as balancing goes. So for the rewrite, Genocide Jack can be triggered during Toko's turn, but after that, you have a set number of turns with her before you switch back to Toko. Something like 2 or 3, keeping in theme with the original's energy gauge. During those turns where Jack's in the front, she's exclusively a damage dealer, and she deals a lot of damage. But the catch is that you can't switch back to Toko before those turns are up, and she can't use any items. Her attacks may also require some QTEs, with the effectiveness depending on how many you manage to pull off. Once Genocide Jack's turns are up, you switch back to Toko, and she's down for a while she comes back to consciousness. It would then take some time to build up the energy again to trigger Jack. The challenge would come from deciding when to resort to Genocide Jack, as there's a strong likelihood you're unable to switch to her more than once per battle, and using her means you lose your main support character. I really wanted to showcase that both Toko and Genocide Jack are useful, but they just have different strengths. So if that's the main cast, what about the rest of the game? What would I do with the story? Well, my thoughts are more jumbled in that regard. I really do think I'd enjoy the game's story a lot more if the combat system was better. But I do have some loose tangents rattling around in what could charitably be called my brain. So let's go through a few of them. The Warriors of Hope are still the main antagonists of UDG, but the connections to the previous games are much stronger. For example, Monica has been maintaining contact with the Remnants of Despair and may occasionally send out a couple people to help make the girls' life just a little bit worse. While you never battle them directly, as I do want to respect the choice to keep the focus on a new cast of antagonists, you do get to see more of the Remnants wandering around. I like the idea of them being somewhat like Nagito and actually helping the player out, but only to help further Monica's plan. The trio wouldn't know yet that they're all Remnants, because that's canon. They didn't find out until somewhere in this wibbly-wobbly time, but the player would obviously know, assuming you go in order. I just think that would be a fun mystery though, wondering why these vaguely adult people haven't yet been murdered by the kids. Izuru could still make a short cameo at the end, although a little more fleshed out. God, that was such a waste of time. And Nagito could stay as the warrior's babysitter. I admit, I thought that was pretty cute. And I'm not saying that all of the remnants would have to make an appearance, but I do have a few key appearances in mind, and yes, I'm heavily biased. Sue me. Here are the ones I have. Kazuichi occasionally drops by to offer special upgrades to the team's weapons that can't be bought at one of the Monokuma Kids' stores, but they are for a hefty price. Mahiru is something of an informant, where you can find her roaming around Towa City and taking pictures. If you've snitched on a new enemy with Toko, she'll give you a small bonus for helping her figure out where she can find them. And in turn, she'll probably point you in a direction to find some more loot. Of course, this is also a front to keep Monica informed of the team's whereabouts. You find instructional training videos from Nekomaru and Akane directed to the Monokuma Kids, teaching them how to work together. But they serve the double purpose of also teaching you some new strategies for working within your party. Ibuki performs during the boss battles as the live music because I can't shake the feeling that even as a remnant, she's a fun goofball. Teru and Mikan would be like traveling salesmen, separately though because good god Mikan doesn't deserve that, to offer food and medicine for purchase. These would be some of the items that the players could use in battles to heal or buff themselves. but they would be expensive and very rare to find. And yes, obligatory imposter mention, they would be posing as a member of the adult resistance, and they are absolutely helping to keep the others informed about whatever the hell is going on inside the base. However, this would be deliberately done in such a way that the player would just think it's the token fact character instead of the imposter. But there would certainly be a few clues sprinkled in to show that, yes, this is the imposter. Moving on away from the remnants, the demons being hunted down are still a part of the game. You find their profiles, turn them into Hiroko, and she says she'll send out someone to find them. But in the rewrite, the adult resistance camp is more of a central hub the team can retreat to at any time. So if you turn in these profiles and then come back later, you can actually find the recovered demons chilling out there and you could talk to them about their loved ones. Except for Yuta and Mr. Fujisaki. Ha! That's actually a good note to transition to talking a little bit more how I see the story's conflict adjusting once Aoi joins, since she would inevitably shake up the dynamic between Toko and Komaru. For the first chapter, you would just be stuck with Komaru and Toko. I do think that Toko's dynamic with Komaru should be well established before introducing Aoi. Komaru is the optimistic dork, and Toko is the pessimistic dork. But most critically, they would have already seen Yuta die very tragically. It wouldn't be until about the second chapter where they meet Aoi and she joins the party, during which Komaru realizes that, oh shit, we saw her brother die. And Toko realizes, oh shit, I've already promised to betray Komaru to the warriors to save my master. Toko and Komaru sidebar and mutually agree to not tell Aoi about Yuta's death until they're well in the clear and someplace safe. Toko would know that Aoi is still grieving the loss of Sakura, and they cannot afford to have her sink into despair before they get out of Towa City safely. But since Toko still wants to get rid of Aoi before handing over Komaru, she's still trying to find ways to get rid of her. So she's being extremely unpleasant and rude and, if she breathes, towards Aoi, sort of like she is with Komaru. But Aoi's reaction has changed. It's much different from how she used to get very flustered like she was in Trigger Happy Havoc, as that role is now filled by Komaru. No, Aoi started biting back. I've never gathered that these two have had a good relationship, and I think it's only gotten worse given the current circumstances. Effectively, Komaru is the peacekeeper between the two of them and is trying to befriend both of them individually. However, while Toko's main issue is the fact that she's so prickly and deliberately mean towards Komaru, Aoi is going out of her way to avoid getting attached to her. She's already lost her girl best friend, and Komaru's very sweet. Aoi's frightened that getting attached to her would cause more pain. So while she's nice to Komaru, she's still deliberately avoiding getting too close to her, kind of keeping her at a distance, often going off by herself whenever Komaru and Toko are together. That could be a fun conflict between the two girls from Trigger Happy Havoc. Neither of them want to get attached to Komaru, but they're both calling each other out for the way they're doing it. At least I talk to her. At least I don't treat her like shit. And then Komaru could be like, you're both bad friends! But there would still be quieter moments between Komaru and Aoi, especially when Toko's being a little bitch. That's where Komaru can learn about Sakura, how Aoi has been trying to be strong despite how hard it is, and Aoi can tell Komaru that she's doing a good job, no matter what Toko says. I had the thought that maybe Aoi would desert the group after she found out about Yuta during, the beginning of Chapter 4. I don't know, maybe it came up on accident. And so during that big showdown between Jack and Komaru, Aoi would be completely out of the picture. But then it's later revealed that she was kidnapped or something by the boss of that area, so the other two could go save her, and Aoi could express gratitude and surprise that they came after her. Then Komaru and Toko could say, well, you're our friend, and we're sorry for not saying anything earlier. We're all cool now. And during that big final confrontation on Towa Tower, with the remote and Komaru deciding whether to break it or not, Toko could still wrestle away the controller from Komaru while Aoi beats the shit out of Haiji. By the end of the game, they would be an unbreakable trio and decide to end their journey by going off to rescue more people in Towa City. Also, Genocide Jack kicks Haiji off a building and he die. Obviously, I've not thought about all the finer details of how I'd want this game to work out in my fanfic version. Also, my throat is starting to get sore. Ideally, I would also fix up Chapter 3's treatment of Kotoko, make Jack have more character development than just serial killer, fix up some of the messages. But that's all I'm going to share for today, as this is meant to be a break from a rewrite. So feel free to throw down your own ideas in the comment section. I might just have to check them out. Until then, thanks for watching, everybody. Follow me here and here to listen to more of my ramblings, and take it easy. This is TinyLeaf, signing off.